One. Welcome to the Golf Podcast Live. I'm your host, Rafael Kalamat, alongside Michael Bleackley. Lots to talk about today. We got the QBE Shark Shootout that happened this weekend over at Greg Norman's course. We're going to be talking pro hockey. We're going to talk about funny golf stories, a top 10 list of our favorite golf courses here in Canada. So we're looking forward to talking about that. PNC Championship this week. Tiger Woods playing with his son Charlie. Big comeback since his huge accident in February. And he'll be playing with Charlie. He's 12 years old now. Along with John Daly, his son's playing as well. So it should be great. But before we get started, we have a special guest. His name is Kelin Ainsworth. He's a professional hockey player. He's one of the partners at Michael Business Consulting. He's also a scratch golfer. That's why he's on here. And welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks, Raph. Welcome,
thanks
Kelin.
for having me, boys.
Kelin,
Thanks for having me.
well, we're happy to have you here. You know, Kelin, tell us a little bit about your golf journey. But before we get there, talk about your hockey professional career and how it got started. I know you're from Thunder Bay, and you've played all over the world. Like, for many golf professionals, sometimes we need to play in different countries, different mini tours. It's a tough go, especially here in Canada. You know, the ultimate dream for every junior is to play NHL hockey. But people don't realize there's lots of other leagues out there. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the NHL is obviously the ultimate dream. I think I came to a realization maybe a little bit earlier than some of my buddies that I wasn't going there, so I figured I might as well see the world a little bit and make an experience out of it. So yeah, like you said, I don't think a lot of people in North America realize how many professional leagues there are out in Europe. Whereas in Europe, it's obviously the NHL is the NHL, but they don't have the same access to it that we do. So it was a learning thing for me too, just to experience how many different leagues were over there and how intense the fans were, how much they loved hockey over there. So yeah, pretty cool that I was able to travel the world and see a lot of cool countries while obviously playing hockey, making some money or whatever I kept from that. And yeah, it was a good experience. So I started on obviously, like you said, I'm from Thunder Bay. So if you don't play hockey in Thunder Bay, you're probably one of the outcasts there. There's not a whole lot to do. It gets pretty cold, so everyone plays hockey. And then just had a pretty typical career. Played juniors, and then went and played college hockey in the States. And right from there, I kind of decided to make the trip over to Europe. I could have played some North American professional, but just my size and my game and just the experience of going over to Europe, that was kind of the best fit for me. And obviously, there's some good golf courses over there, so I'd be lying if that didn't play a part of my decision. So yeah, I started in college, and then I signed my first professional deal in Austria and the Hungarian League, and from there I played a bunch of different countries after that. So that's kind of how it all got started.
And I see some of the stats, Googling you, and I found in your last year in Hungary, you had 53 points in 32 games. And
Sweet.
That's pretty great numbers in any league. So tell us about the mindset that you got into during that period of time to have that success on the ice, and maybe how that mindset could travel into your golf game.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I I was always really committed to hockey. That was always what I wanted to do, whether it was in the NHL or playing in Europe. I was always super committed, had a strong drive. So my last year in college, I had a really good year, and that's kind of where I got my first deal in that league. And that was actually my first year when I put up those numbers. So I actually ended up leading the league and scoring that year, and that kind of propelled me to play in a lot of different leagues. So that was kind of a breakout year to kind of see where my game was at. I never really knew. You're going to Europe, you don't really know what you're getting into. There's leagues with different levels, whatever. But ultimately that year kind of made me realize, I could make a career out of this and play some pretty high level hockey. So I won the scoring title that year, which was a really cool experience in Europe. I everything's different there in the hockey scene. They make you wear a gold helmet in the playoffs. So whoever leads the league in scoring wears a gold helmet and a jersey.
That's pretty cool.
Literally a jersey. Yeah. And a jersey with flames going up it. So you have your normal team jersey, and then the leading scorer in the league has to wear this jersey with flames all over it, a gold helmet. It's like put a target on your back.
It's like the Tour de France. You know, you got to wear the yellow jersey.
Yeah, except the only difference is you got guys running at you 60 kilometers an hour. So it's a little bit of a target on the back. But no, that was cool. I mean, that was a fun experience. We got bounced in 4 games anyway, so I didn't get to wear the gold helmet too long. But yeah, and then I think, like, you know, to answer your question, just I think hockey is definitely, there's a lot of parallels with golf. Obviously, the nature of the sport is different, but just the mindset, you know, kind of the competitive fire that I got from hockey, and just kind of realizing, you know, you can kind of get to the next level. Whether, you know, for golf, it's I'm super early in my career because of hockey. I can only play in the summers, right? So I'm kind of just realizing what kind of golf career I can have. So I think from hockey, yeah, I can definitely take a lot away from it. Just that competitive nature and just kind of the commitment and the hours that, you know, I'm just ingrained in me to kind of do with hockey. I think I'm willing to do that with golf. So I think that's a big challenge for a lot of amateurs, is being able to put the work in with hockey. Kind of you're setting a regiment and a routine of going to the gym and training, and just kind of translate that over to golf. So yeah, it's kind of fun to see where my game's at with golf, using a lot of hockey experiences for sure.
So, in looking backwards, if you could say start over, would you prefer chasing a pro golf career or, you know, getting to the NHL?
That's a tough one. I mean, yeah, golf's kind of a dream to play pro. You can play so much longer. You go on the Champions Tour after. I want to say, just, you know, being from Thunder Bay, my Canadian, just having that Canadian background, I think ultimately, you know, playing the NHL would kind of be the top, the king daddy topper. But having said that, I think being a golf professional is a pretty sweet thing too. But hey, maybe I can do that. Champions Tour is another 20 years away. So I got the time.
He's a young guy, Mike. He's only 29. But speaking of Thunder Bay, let's give a shout out to the Kings out there. And then you went to the U.S. and played the North Stars. So for people who are watching or listening to this podcast, you got to realize how much Kelin did as far as travel. You got Denmark, Hungary, Italy, and the U.S. And you spoke a little bit about your size. So you're about 5'10", 5'11", yeah.
5'10",
depending on the website.
Yeah, exactly.
About 180.
How much I could get away with. Yeah, about that. Yeah.
And that kind of reminds me, you know, my brother played QHL and played AAA, played Verdun, played a number of places like LaSalle, made his way up to St. Louis, and then got cut, which was the farm team at the time for the Montreal Canadiens. So I get the grind. And I love the fact that you have those parallel, the correlation of having that fire. But at 29 years old, if you're a decent scratch player, you still can get onto locals. There's local qualifying. It's a lot of fun. We've got the Mackenzie Tour out here in Canada. So, hey, don't lose sight of that. You know, Mike and I are still dreaming in Technicolor, and we're 48.
Yeah, I know. Dream's so alive. No, yeah, that's what's been kind of fun. Like, I think golf is, you know, played a big role in me, like, retiring. I retired from hockey about a year ago now, so partially COVID was a big reason too. But once I started kind of realizing my golf career out in BC, it's so different too from Thunder Bay. The season's longer, and there's just more competitive events that you can play. And I started thinking, like, maybe maybe the opportunities are there. You know, I never would have thought that, you know, trying you know, maybe you know, a qualifier for a Mackenzie Tour event or something would be possible. But more I've been playing out here and kind of testing my game compared to other amateurs. Yeah, I'm definitely, that's something that I definitely want to do. That's kind of the next goal. I think it'd be cool to say you played pro golf and pro hockey. That's kind of the next goal, I think.
Well, I've played a lot of golf with you. I've seen your game. I've seen you break par numerous times, and you hit the ball long. You've got natural golf talent. So I think you could translate that into getting into, you know, starting at the VGT mini tours, and why not, you know, throw your hat in the ring at a Mackenzie Tour event and see what happens. There's really no reason not to.
And there's always opens as well. There's so much fun. I mean, open pre-qualifiers and qualifiers, both for the U.S. and Canadian. Now, just throwing yourself into that pool and having that experience to play with those kind of pairings kind of elevates your game to another level. When I play the Assistants Tour, the Ben Hogan Tour out in Quebec, it's incredible. You go into events and you realize what you need to do with your game, because there's club golf, there's the golf that you play with your friends, there's tournament golf like inter club, and then when you play actual amateur or professional events, it's another notch. And it's a lot of fun. It's really testing yourself and challenging yourself and seeing what your ability is and what you need to do to achieve that. And being a high end athlete as yourself, you know the discipline it takes to commit.
Yeah, 100%. No, just actually meeting Mike was a big part of my golf career too. Just getting familiar with the VGT, the local tour here, and then just some of the tournaments I didn't even really know about. I did some qualifier, did the BCM qualifier this year, and yeah, it's a good benchmark to see where your game's at. It's one thing to go fire a 60 whatever at your local with the boys or whatever over a few beers, but then going into a tournament where you're kind of shaking over putts and stuff, it really kind of shows you where your game's at. So that's been probably the most fun for me, is just playing in these real events and then seeing how I do in them. And this year I played in the BC. I think was it the Vid Am or the Am, Mike? I can't remember where we played.
That was the amateur. You qualified for the BC Amateur. And that was a great event at Kings Links Golf Club. And unfortunately you weren't able to make it to the tournament itself for work reasons, or were you traveling? I forget what it was.
I was traveling. Yeah, I was kind of naive to the full golf tournament circuit, so I got qualified for the tournament and then realized I couldn't even go. But yeah, I wasn't able to go, and that would have been a really cool benchmark just to see where your game's at, playing with some high end level, amateur players locally, and
It's a great stepping stone. There's so many good amateur golfers here in BC and Canada, for that matter. And to go out and throw yourself into the mix with these guys, it's a whole different animal than playing for skins or a few dollars, because everything matters. Every 2-foot putt matters. And like you said, you get the nerves and you shake, and you learn about humility, playing tournament golf, and it's difficult. People don't realize the pressures. You get announced on the tee box, and you get a gallery. And that qualifier, I had 12 people following us around for the last few holes, just friends of the group, and it's fun. Like, I really enjoy that myself. Just getting, it makes you focus, and there's a lot to be said for that.
Speaking of getting your name called out, I've got a great story for you. I had played one of my first professional events. It's the Spring Open, which is a classic here in Canada over at the Beaconsfield Golf Club in just outside of Montreal on the West Island. And I thought they were going to call my name out. No such thing. You need to show up to your starter and present yourself. I was on the good putting green. I started off with a 2-stroke penalty. That's how I started off my professional career. And
my first tournament I've ever played, my first actual competitive event was the VGT here in Vancouver Golf Tour, and Mike will know the course, Westwood Plateau, and they did the same thing. They announced your name, and I'm coming from playing men's nights with the boys. I don't know what this is all about, and they calling my name. I'm like, man, I'm kind of nervous here. This is intense. And Mike knows the hole. I put the ball. I hit it so far left that I actually hit a house. I was in the house. The fairway is massive. It's almost impossible to go that far left. I just was nervous when they called my name. I'm like, no one's even here. Just the fact they calling your name kind of puts some pressure on.
I played Westwood Plateau with you, Mike, right back in 1997.
Yes.
We went out there with a few friends of ours. That was an interesting experience. Our friend Kat was a member there, right?
Yeah, I believe he was. Yeah, I remember that. That was when Westwood was in its heyday. They had beautiful white sand. It was really expensive to play it in those times as well. The course has changed a little bit for the better in the last few years, but it's definitely it's a beautiful BC golf course.
Yeah, we're dating ourselves now. That was almost 25 years ago. Hey, let's switch gears, Mike, really quickly, because we got so many topics to go over. QBE Shark Shootout this weekend. It was in Naples, Florida. I don't know if you guys had a chance to play anywhere in Florida. But Jason Kokrak and Kevin Na took it with a score of 33 under, which is ridiculous in itself. But it was a kind of a fun tourney, kind of a hit and giggle is the new term in the last few weeks since Tiger said that at a press conference. Played the Tiburon course. They birdied the last 12 of their 13 holes to win this event and steal it from Horschel and Burns at 32 under, which is ridiculous in itself. You know, they have a common coach, Drew Steckel, great PGA teacher. But you know, a few things stole the event for me. I really enjoyed watching Lexi Thompson play with Bubba Watson because you know, her being an LPGA player and Bubba Watson with the curvature that he has to the ball, both drawing and fading the ball anywhere between 15 and 30 yards is just remarkable in itself. Any highlights? Did you guys get a chance to see anything?
Yeah, I watched the highlights, watched the end. It was actually a really fun event. I love the format, the 4-ball format. It's great, and then to go on that run. I mean, Kevin Na is kind of known as that guy when he gets that putter roll, and he's actually really, I think, an underrated player to watch. When he gets rolling, I mean, he can go pretty low. So that was a pretty epic finish to that. I mean, just to go on that run.
Yeah. I always enjoy seeing Kevin Na get some success. I've obviously been following him for a few years, and you know, I think back to that time he made a 17 out of the woods, probably about 10 years ago, and he's had, you know, trouble pulling the trigger and swings, and he's gone through a lot of trials and tribulations with his game. But you know, anytime he can pull off a victory, it's sweet. And this particular week, he had lost a couple friends over the last month, and you know, had a little extra boost to play for. And so yeah, seeing them, you know, birding 12 of the last 13 is unbelievable. And this format is just different. It is silly season for the PGA, so seeing these guys play, you know, a best ball event, and I believe they do alternate shot, correct, on Saturday.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's probably enjoying. You know, these players get to come out during the off season, compete. You know, Lexi and Bubba is again fantastic. You know, she's such a great player on the LPGA, and the creativity of Bubba Watson. So I think they're a fantastic team, and hopefully we see more of them in the future. But I actually enjoy these silly season events, and especially next week with the PNC father son, right? Like, look what we have coming down the pipeline with Tiger and Charlie, the two Johns, you know, Little John and Big John. There's some great stories brewing here, and again, we get to see Tiger play golf, which has been 10 months since he tumbled down that hill in the car, right? So when he's lucky that he's here, and it's amazing that he's back on the course and willing to play already.
Yeah, I just wanted to put a bow on the QBE Shark Shootout. You know, I just want to give a shout out to Corey Connors. It's nice to see him get all that coverage. You know, I know there's only 12 teams in the field, but it's really nice to see him play and have people see, so he could showcase his talent because he hits it so long. We know that. He's got a very unconventional swing, very upright on the takeaway, and he follows through a little bit of a reverse on the impact position. So really nice to see. And playing with a veteran like McDowell was fun to watch. But absolutely, going into the PNC, Mike, this is insane. The event is sold out. And you've got people like John Daly and his son playing, VJ, a bunch of guys. It's really wild. And they're playing out over in Orlando. I think they've been playing there for over 20 years. Who do you think is going to play well? Or how about a better question? This is what everybody wants to know. How do you think Tiger is going to play?
It's no pressure for Tiger. Charlie's got a hell of a game. This is a fun event. I expect to see Tiger play well. And remember last year, how many times they just played Charlie's ball and Tiger didn't hit a shot. I think we'll see a lot of that. You know, again, this is probably more for Charlie than it is for Tiger. Could be wrong on that, but it's a casual event. You've got like Lee Trevino's going to be there, and you know, VJ Singh and Cass Singh, Nelly Corda and her father. So this is fun, and I think it's the perfect event for Tiger to come out, hit some shots, have a great time with his son, and see what happens. And hopefully this leads into him playing more in the new year. You know, are we going to see him in January? You know, when are we going to see him back on tour? So this is what everyone's going to be talking about. Will we see him before the Masters? Or, you know, like that's Tiger. He rolled this out beautifully from that leaked picture a few weeks ago. His chatter, you know, like we talked about this earlier in the week, Raf, his chatter at the World Hero Challenge, and the marketing behind him was perfect. And then to announce the PNC, like it was scripted, like an Academy Award winner.
Yeah, Kelin, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's kind of similar to what Mike's saying. It's classic Tiger. You know, he kind of never comes out and says he's playing an event. It's always kind of just hidden drops. But yeah, I mean, I think I read something that they're going to have to accommodate parking and stuff for Tiger does decide to play, which is just kind of funny that, you know, the kind of draw that he brings to every event. But no, I'm kind of the same. I'm super excited. I actually personally like this part of the season in golf. You get to see these cool events. I mean, you know, kind of the dog days of summer where you're watching these events and it's the same kind of format. I think this is fun to watch this. You get to see a little bit of different personalities of the players and just see their game in a little bit of a different light. But I mean, from the videos that I saw leak of Tiger, I mean, I don't buy the fact that he's driving at 230 or whatever. I mean, he's ripping at the ball. I mean, there's no way. That's a 300-yard swing. Like, I mean, it looks like a nice swing to me. I expect them to go out, and whether they're competitive or not, I think Tiger. I don't think there'll be anything kind of shocking in this game. I think they'll be solid. And I think you mentioned that it's a short course for Charlie anyway, so I think they'll be fine. I mean,
the format's pretty great. It's a two-person scramble played over 2 days, and it is a par 72, but it does play, I think, just over 7,100 yards. But he'll be playing from the front tees. You're right. I don't even think Tiger might be playing the back tees where Justin's playing, but that wouldn't be fair. And I think he's going to play the back tees anyways. And
I read that too.
And to Mike's point, you know, Tiger tweeted on. Let me just read you his latest tweet. Although it's been a long and challenging year, I'm very excited to close it out by competing in the PNC with my son Charlie, and I'm playing as a dad and couldn't be more excited and proud. So to your point, Mike, I think he's really playing for his son. The course lends itself to him being able to sit in a golf cart and drive the course. It's fairly flat, and if he doesn't play the back tees, he might play really well. They finished 7th last year, and remember, those are back-to-back 62s. I don't care what golf course or what format or who you're playing with. That is incredible.
Yeah, well, you look at the depth of this field, right? Like VJ's kid Cass is an excellent golfer. Daniel Trevino, all these guys, they're born to play golf. Really, like I'm just looking at the field here. David Duval and Brady Duval, like these guys, they're golfing families. They're capable of low scores, and we'll probably see some fantastic low scores this weekend. Now, about Tiger, like he's always held back his injuries and not really disclosed what type of pain he's in. Like, look at the U.S. Open, he won with a broken leg. You know, no one knew that until after. And I suspect he's doing the same here. He's letting everyone know that he can hit balls, but he's probably a little stronger than he's letting on. So I wouldn't be surprised he plays the back tees. I mean, he should be. There's no way he's going to play forward when JT and all the other boys are up there on the tips. Like, there's no way.
No matter what, I think he's too competitive to not play from the back tees, even if he's not hitting it as far.
Could you imagine JT would be tweeting about Tiger playing on the forward tees? They'd roast him. So it would be fun to watch, no doubt about it. But he'll be back there.
And Justin wants to, you know, rub it in a little bit more. He's playing with his dad. They won last year, and it's a pretty cool trophy. They have those WWE belts, right? in case that's pretty awesome. And we don't want to forget that every single one of these family members that are paired with a major champion. So these aren't just winners on tour. These are major champions that are playing. So that's a lot of fun. Orlando Ritz-Carlton Golf Club, same place they've been going to for years. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, guys, we've got something that we're going to do this week. We started last week with our top 10 list, and we're going to do a top 10 list of our favorite Canadian golf courses. So if you're watching or listening from any point, if you're in the US or any other part of the world, please pay attention because we're going to talk about some of the greatest golf course this country has to offer. How about I start off, guys?
Go for it, Raph.
All right. So a couple years back, about 15 or so, I played a few times over at Banff Springs with my dad, who's out in Alberta. I'll tell you, that's a magical place. And I use the word magical because I feel like I was in the Lord of the Rings or an X-Files episode. You know, you're deep in the woods in the valley with all the pines and I actually saw 2 deer on the golf course. You know, with the mist and the fog and where this course is situated. A lot of people played virtual golf, either on a full golf swing simulator where you could actually play the golf course. You know, one of my favorite experiences, best places I've ever played, and I would highly recommend it. So this is in no particular order, by the way. So we're each going to mention a couple of golf courses.
Kelin, why don't you take the next one?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. I actually do have Banff Springs on my list as well. I've been lucky enough to play that a few times. Awesome track, but I have one on kind of an honorable mention, so I'll use that instead later on. But yeah, I'll start off with Shaughnessy here in Vancouver. I haven't played a ton of golf in Ontario aside from Thunder Bay, which is pretty limited to some tracks there, but so I'm probably a little bit biased towards out west just because I've played more golf out here. But I played Shaughnessy this year for the first time. A buddy of mine's a member there, and we actually had a pretty good little bet going. He talks about the course being as hard as anything, so which it is. It's a really tough track. I'm kind of more into the you know, the shooter style golf courses, even if they eat you up a little bit. I just love those kind of golf courses. It's, you know, it plays kind of like a U.S. Open format with the thick rough and crazy fast greens, and it's just beautiful as well. And it's a true golfer's golf course. I mean, I know it's a bit subjective to people who can kind of get eaten up by it, and maybe if I shot a bad round, I wouldn't like it as much there. But I just thought it was a wicked track, and it's also super cool to be able to play where, you know, the Canadian Open was held, and you know, a lot of really good players have played there and mentioned how fun and how hard that golf course is. So I thought that was just an awesome call. Actually, ironically enough, I think we played the same day there, Bleaks.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. We were right behind you guys. And I've been lucky enough to play that course about 10 times since I've lived out here. And I agree, it is fantastic. The practice facility is second to none. It's got the double-ended range, short game greens, bunkers. You can work on every facet of your game. They're right down to the little details of cups and the putting greens that are half the size. So that is one of the top facilities, absolutely, in Canada. I'm not sure what it's ranked on the score top 100 list, but it's got to be up there in the top 10, I would assume.
And just hitting different shots that you're not used to. I mean, I've never had to hit, you know, wedge shots that are rough on basically the first cut on the lightning fast greens. You know, you really have to be confident and hit certain shots that just require a certain skill set. And I mean, there's not a lot of courses that, even membership courses too, that play really hard because, you know, a lot of members don't want it playing that hard. This course, they don't really care. It's always
they don't care. Stuart Appleby got roasted at Shaughnessy during the Canadian Open, was saying some disparaging remarks about it, but sounds like the course just ate his lunch and he was a little bitter about it. So,
well, I said, if I went out and shot a 95, I probably would not be mentioning that.
Yeah.
I had a lucky day that day. I played well, so that's probably why it's in my list.
Yeah, like Grey Wolf.
Yeah, exactly. Grey Wolf's not on my list.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. So I'll jump in here, and I'm going to say the Devil's Paintbrush in Ontario, in Caledon, Ontario. This course, if you look at it on a scorecard, it's not very long, but the setup, every hole has a whole bunch of tee boxes where they can change the setup and configuration of each hole. It is so much fun. There's bunkers all over the place and elevation changes, and really some arguably can be unfair, but that's golf. Golf is not a fair game. There's remnants of one of the old clubhouse out through one of the holes, and it's just a great time. So anyone who can get a lucky invite to go play this course, even its sister course, the pulpit, is a great facility too, but the Devil's Paintbrush is something that you've got to get out and play.
Oh, amazing. That's the paintbrush and the pulpit now. They've taken out the
Yes.
devil.
I know. I threw the devil in there because I think it should stay there. It's just one of those golf courses that it will kick you. It'll kick your ass. But you can score on it just like any course. But it's for the creative golfer, someone who has a good short game and good vision for a golf shot. I think it's a fantastic golf course, and it's. Every year, it's highly ranked in the Score Golf top 100, usually in the top 10 or 20, both those courses for that matter.
Now, Kel, you brought up the fact that championship golf setup is a little bit different, and you're very right about that. People don't realize that on the PGA Tour, the way they have the golf courses set up as far as length and rough, speed of the greens, and that list goes on, is very difficult. Although it's in immaculate condition, it's set up for tournament PGA Tour standard golf. And that brings me to the Royal Montreal Golf Club, where I was a professional for a few years. The course is set up for the Canadian Open, obviously, and the President's Cup. Famously, Mike Weir and Tiger Woods played the singles match on Sunday coming down the stretch. I had the opportunity to work for CGA D800 AM and do the play-by-play, walk the golf course with Roger Maltby on the last 3 holes with Mike Weir. I felt, and this was my comment back then, that I was at a hockey game. I was at the NHL finals. People were so loud. Tiger couldn't even hear anything from his caddy on the 18th hole, and it's an amazing golf course. And unfortunately, it's a private course. There's the red, black, and red course. And the blue course is the championship course.
So if you remember that President's Cup when Mike and Tiger were duking it out, the crowd was screaming, "Fight, fight, fight!" Because I was there too, watching as a spectator. Raf was lucky enough or I was lucky enough to get in on the press day on Tuesday with Raf. But that Sunday was amazing, following those two guys around and the energy in the crowd. And people don't realize the mayhem that follows Tiger around the golf course. And that Tuesday practice round that we followed him, and he came off into the press area, people were literally throwing themselves at him, trying to get an autograph or get him to look at them, for that matter. So that was really neat to see. But
we've been around golf for a long time. And when I went to the 2000 Canadian Open over at Glen Abbey, and coming in through the gates, over on the left-hand side, it was 10 rows deep behind the ropes, 10 rows deep around the green. There was over 10,000 people following him on one hole. Like, it was just it was incredible.
Yeah.
And there's very few people in the game of golf, going back to Jack or maybe Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, that is, and even John Daly has a good crowd going behind him. He's one of the most popular golfers on tour, is because of his likability and because of the challenges he's had on his life and how he wears his emotions on his sleeve and gone through all the things through media, as Tiger has. So people feel like they could really, they have a feeling that they know the golfer, right?
Well, you can relate to Daly in many ways if you want. If you like booze and you like gambling and trashing hotel rooms, there's a lot you can compare to Daly. So he's just a normal guy. Like he's there's no attitude with him. He drives around and he doesn't like to fly, so he takes a bus or a camper around from tour event to tour event, and yeah, he's just a dude. So.
Yeah, let's circle. We got to circle back here. We've done 4 golf courses. What are we in, number 5?
Number 4, I think. Kelin, go for it.
Yeah, I'll throw in another BC golf course here, Tobiano. I've played it a few times. Obviously, I know, Mike, you've played it. I'm sure you have as well, Raph. But just a fun challenge, and beautiful place. I mean, when the wind gets going, maybe that brings me back to kind of my competitive nature in hockey. I like a challenging golf course. I like a course that can really eat you up, because when you shoot well, it's just so much more rewarding. And when the wind gets howling there, it's tough track, and the views are just amazing. Great greens. It's always in great shape. It's not a pretentious golf course. You show up and it's just a very basic clubhouse. Nothing really crazy going on. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's not outrageous to play price wise or anything. It's just kind of a golf course, a golfer's golf course. And yeah, just when the wind gets going, it's also beautiful. Some of the views there are really world class when you're on the river there. It's unbelievable, kind of that desert kind of vibe. And no, I really like it. A lot of tough holes, super challenging golf course, really nice. And I think Louis Oosthuizen, however you say his last name there, he said that was one of his favorite courses actually too. And you think about all the amazing places he's played, and he frequents there quite a bit. And yeah, so I think that's my top course.
Yeah, I put it up there too. I played it a few times as well, and it's definitely. I was going to put that on my list, but I thought that one of you guys might have picked it. But I'm going to throw Victoria Golf Club in the list. Again, that's another private facility. I've been lucky enough to play it once. The first 12 holes were just an absolute West Coast downpour, right? We got up soaked to the bone, but enjoyed every minute of it because I knew what a treat it was to be there. And we got lucky as we approached the holes that play along the ocean, the weather started to clear up. So we had a sunny finish, and I'd love to get back there and have another crack at that. But that's because it's private, not a lot of people hear about it. But it is unbelievable. It's kind of like our Pebble Beach. There's some holes out there that I recall that right along the water that were just unbelievable golf.
There's something about the older style golf courses that appeals to me. We talked about Royal Montreal. We talked about Shaughnessy. There's an old style of golf course layout, and it being Architecture Week in golf. It's really interesting to hear everyone's opinion on the Golf Channel about these things. This gets me thinking about Mississauga Golf and Country Club that's had several Canadian Opens. I had a chance to play with Mike. That's the only reason why I got out and played that course. A beautiful, narrow course. I completely lost, I don't know, about a 1-inch hairline on that golf course. I was so frustrated with some of the holes being so tight and unexpected water. But, that's what happens when you just play a course once. Do you remember that day, Mike?
Yeah, I do. There's in that course, again, I've been lucky enough to play that a handful of times. My sister was a member, and my brother-in-law was a member for, over 35 years. But there's something about that course, like the fairways look extremely narrow. They look longer than they really are. You'll see a 400-yard par 4, and it looks like it's 600 yards for some reason. I don't know what it was optically with that golf course, but again, a very classic old school facility. They had a curling rink inside. It was the clubhouse was magnificent. Practice facility, top tier. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I believe that's always rated in the top 100 Canada courses.
Yeah, it goes into the Credit Valley, and I was surprised that we'd had to take an elevator shaft up to one of the golf holes. You remember that? I don't remember what hole that was.
I do. I think that goes up to 17, like 16 or 17. It comes off a par 3, I believe, and you go up top, and there's another par 4. The tree was taken down there. There's a big controversy the golf course had about that particular tree, but great facility. So again, if you can get a lucky invite, get out there.
That's kind of the interesting thing too with this list is, being private tracks, just like Shaughnessy or Victoria, or whatever. Probably don't hear about it quite as much because it's tougher to get on these courses when they're probably, those I find, a lot of those old school private courses are my favorite style of golf courses.
Yeah, and that's probably part of why we enjoy them so much, because it is a treat to get an invite out to some of these courses. And like I said, it all boils down to who you know. That applies in golf too. So get out there and make some more friends in golf if you're not getting invited to these tracks, because there are some real gems out there.
I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, brought to you by Drinkwell, Beverages, Upper Hand Sports Cards and Collectibles, and for apparel, ping pong, and tough duck. So thanks, guys. Just wanted to give a nice shout out to you guys. And of course, Evolve Creative Solutions Agency for all your digital marketing needs. Guys, this brings me to our funny golf story segment. I think I'll start off. If you could think of one, I think, Mike, we were talking about this the other week. You know, we're not going to run out of funny golf stories. The amount of golf that we've played, we'll always think of something. We didn't give away all our best stories. So this takes me back because I brought up the 2000 Canadian Open. I was in the parking lot and taking a photo of Tiger Woods, who was coming out of the clubhouse. But about 10 yards ahead of him was Brandel Chambly. At the time, I had no idea who he was, right? I didn't know he was a player. He's obviously a top golf analyst on the Golf Channel. Everybody knows him for his controversy and being outspoken. So I took a photo, and he started yelling at me that there's no cameras allowed, that stop taking pictures of me. He goes, I'm going to get your camera taken away from you. He started yelling, security, security. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with this guy? I wasn't even taking a picture of him, and I don't know who he is. And that brings me back to the Sunday as well, because I was on the 18th hole just before Tiger Woods was coming up the 18th with Grant Wade, I believe. Davis Love came up to the fairway and hit his driver right into a fairway bunker that's about 270 yards out. It wasn't the one Tiger was in, it was the one before that. And I was standing right beside it. So on his backswing, I forgot to turn off my flash. So here's another camera story. And he started yelling at me, right? He hit his shot perfectly. He went right down into the neck of that par 5 leading into the green because he didn't go over the water like Tiger did with his famous 6-iron shot. He just went right into the neck of that fairway leading into the green. And so I had the biggest smile on my face. I'm like, hey, Davis Love's talking to me, right? I'm like, sorry. How about you guys? Any stories?
Ellen, why don't you dazzle us with some?
I don't have. You guys have more golf experiences than I do, so maybe just most embarrassing for me. I mean, I have a few recently that I can think of more so of my game. Probably the one that sticks out the most is the club championship last year. Just how big of a meltdown I had. I was a Vanderbilt 2.0 all day, so I was leading, as Mike knows, our course, Mayfair Lakes, and I had a one-shot lead going into 18. This is Club C last year. And, it's a par 5 water. I mean, there's just so much disaster all over it, but there's also opportunity. I mean, you play it 90% of the time, you're going to par or actually birdie it, I would say, Bleaks. But then, you know, that big hole, that big number is just always on that hole. So it's just a daunting hole. It's a par 5 that wraps around water the whole way. There's a water channel running through it. So there's like 2 different layups, and then all, throw the wind in at Mayfair. So just a lot of disaster that can happen. And on one-shot lead, I hit my drive into a fairway bunker. My partner, who is chasing me, goes into the water in a second shot. So it's basically a wrap, right? I got to hit this pitching wedge into a soft area. And then, because I got to lay up, I can't go for it. I'm about 155 out on my third shot. He's already in the water. I could basically hit a bunch of wedges up there and just secure the club championship. And for whatever reason, I hit the longest 8-iron in my entire life. I hit this massive draw into the patio seating area. We were like having a beer, and like a ball went by them. So literally the tournament's in the bag. All I have to do is just hit it somewhere around the green. My playing partner, the guy who's playing against, had a double, and I have a one-shot lead. So I roped this huge 8-iron into the patio, OB. I just couldn't believe my eyes. I never hit a shot like that.
Listen, it happens on tour all the time where you got that adrenaline going. You're on the last hole. You're hitting, your third or second to last shot, and you just hit it 10 to 20 yards further than you ever would.
Is left a common miss too with the pressure, or is it right?
Yeah, so straight left. Yeah, straight left usually. Yeah. If you come over the top, if you're right-handed, right?
So I'm a righty. Mike knows my game obviously really well. I'm an exclusive fader of the ball. Like, I only fade the ball every single time. I can't even hit a draw if I wanted to. And I hit my 8-iron stock is about 150 shot, and I hit at about 180 huge draw, so I don't even know. It was like an outer body experience. I had to go
Probably in the
back.
back of your stance too, because you had to come toe heavy into that shot to be able to draw it in that way from the inside out. So that's just
Well, I've
a
actually never
guess.
witnessed anyone hit it into that patio area, and somehow I did that with the club C on the line. I ended up taking an 8 triple bogey on the hole, went to a playoff. Thank God I closed it out. Had some of the boys waiting on the 18th green with beers and ready to celebrate. Just not yet, boys. We got to play off. So I took an 8, and it was like really close to being disastrous. I don't know if mentally I would ever recover from that. So I ended up closing it out, but I hopefully I won't do that again.
Nice. Nice. Good
Yeah.
story.
Well, that makes me think of my first like real amateur tour event, which was the 2006 Vancouver Open, put on by the VGT. And I was a good golfer. At the time, I was probably about a 6 cap, and thought I was ready for the fucking PGA Tour. Pardon my French. So I go down there, warm up, and it was a big deal to me. Like, you get on the range. It was at UBC golf course, and Fraser Mulholland, was running the event. The range looked like it was right off the PGA Tour. We had promo tents, we had all kinds of different vendors down there. So like it was a big deal. So go out, bogey the first couple holes, and we started in a shotgun format. So I played the first hole, would have been about my 5th hole, and my second shot gets in a divot at least 3 inches deep. Like, it was the worst divot I've ever had a ball in. And from there, I chunk it out and then blow it long over the green on my next shot. Went out of bounds, so I had to run back out to the fairway. I made a 10 and ended up shooting in the 90s. And I had a caddy. I had the whole thing. Like, it was just ridiculous. And they did the dinner that on the first night. Then you played your second round. So obviously I was teeing off really early the next day, but we have the dinner, and I'm just embarrassed to high heaven, sitting in there, laughing about it, bringing myself in there, caddy and everything, thinking that I'm going to have a breakthrough event. And that day was super embarrassing. But the positive from it was the next morning I went out and messed up my first few holes again, but I went even par for the last 13 holes, and I broke 80 and had a great redemption from the first round. So that, for me, that was it. I was hooked on playing tournaments from that moment on, and was chasing tournament golf ever since.
Sweet. Those are great stories, guys. Thanks for sharing. Well, we got some great guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. We've got Dave Hill in Montreal, one of the top Canadian coaches and CPGA Class A professionals who's traveled around the world, very well known in Montreal. Also worked at Royal Montreal before my time and started his own academy. Very unique approach to the game, both physically, mentally. Used to own the Golfologist Academy. We got Carrie Moffat, who's a Class A professional over at your club, guys. She'll be on in 2 weeks' time, so we're looking forward to seeing her. Fraser Mulholland, who is the CEO and the tournament commissioner for the VGT Tour. And a big announcement today. We just got info that late January, we're going to announce the date and time. We have former PGA Tour player Len Matisse. Many people might remember him from finishing second at the Masters next to our Mike Weir. But he's also a PGA Tour winner, and he's got a lot of insight on the game. We're looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, definitely some great guests, and some other guests in the wings too. We'll make those announcements online on our Instagram and Facebook accounts. Check us out at thegolfpodcast.live on Instagram, and keep informed. We've got lots of great guests coming up.
Kelin, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, guys. I just wanted to say thanks for not making me follow up behind a former PGA player pigeon like me. No one wants to listen to. So thanks for slotting me in.
Man, listen, buddy, we got a lot of respect for you, for your journey in life and what you've done. Hockey is not easy, and for you to travel and play professional golf the way you did, man, a lot of respect to you, brother. Listen, for Kelin Ainsworth and Michael Bleackley, I'm Rafael Kalamat. You've been listening to the Golf Podcast Live, and we'll see you really soon. Take care.
Excellent. Take care.
You guys, thanks.